Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to Abnormal Voyages. My name is David, and today we find ourselves in the great state of Kansas. We're here at Tall Grass Prairie National Preserve, just taking in some of this beautiful nature. It wasn't too long ago that wild herds of thousands of bison were all up and down this area. We're here to check it out and see what wonderful things are in this state. Tag along.
We're going to a place that you've never heard of before. It's Abnormal Voyages. You're gonna learn something new. We're gonna open new doors. It's Abnormal Voyages.
At one point, these beautiful, sweeping prairies covered more than 140 million acres of the United States. They stretched all the way from Indiana to Kansas and from Canada to Texas. Unfortunately, most of it is gone now, but the part that remains is here as a testament to the beauty that once stood in this spot. It can be difficult to ride that fine line between preservation and development. While it's important to keep pushing forward and building new cities and new towns for people to live in and explore, it's just as important to still preserve some natural places like this. With any luck, this preserve will be here for generations to come. Let's head into civilization and grab some food. We are now in Council Grove, Kansas at the Hayes House, which was established in 1857 and is the oldest restaurant in the country west of the Mississippi. Let's get in there and check it out. Hayes House was founded in 1857 by Seth Hayes, who, among many colorful other things, was also the great-grandson of the one and only Daniel Boone. Throughout its years, this location has seen a lot of different uses. While it's always been a restaurant and trading post, it was a pretty popular place among the people in town. The government would sometimes even hold court or distribute mail here. Bartenders had to cover up their liquor bottles on Saturday nights because church was held here Sunday morning. No doubt the Hayes House has seen a lot of visitors in its days. This here is one of the original bars that was actually used by Jesse James, the famous outlaw. This is where he stood and ordered himself some spirits. And of course, being a restaurant, you know we had to get a food review, so let's tune in for another installment of Food Stars with Blake.
So Damien and I here are trying
at the Hayes House.
At the Hayes House, yep.
I got the bison burger with fries and some ketchup. Looks pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah.
Can't wait to try it.
I always like bison. This is the chicken fried steak. They do have a bison version. They were sold out today, unfortunately.
Yeah,
you got to get here early to get this. And this is also some garlic mashed potatoes, but I mean,
it looks pretty good, mashed potatoes.
I definitely think so as well. I guess try it out, see
what it tastes like. Pretty good.
Yeah?
First time I have bison too. I like it a lot. Look at that.
A little different than a beef burger for sure. Yeah.
You can definitely taste the difference.
So what are you thinking rating wise?
Probably like a 4 out of 5.
4 to 5 stars, okay.
Yep.
Let's see what this chicken fried steak is like. It's always a good option, especially when you're in a kind of small town. Good old American style cooking.
Tastes good.
Oh yeah. Really good. Not chewy at all. Got a lot of good flavor. I'm not really a big white gravy fan either, but this is not like super masking of the actual steak itself.
Yeah. Some of it can be like that for sure.
Probably one of the better chicken fried steaks I've had. I think I'm gonna give this one a 4.5 stars out of 5.
Well, let's finish our meal.
See what's next.
What an interesting place, not to mention delicious. But let's go see what else Kansas has to offer. One of the most important battles in American history is that for civil rights. Here in Topeka, Kansas, we have stumbled upon one of the key battlegrounds in that enormous fight. This is where they've decided the Brown versus Board of Education ruling. Let's see what we can find out about it. In 1954, the United States Supreme Court ruled that segregation by race was inherently unfair. The court case Plessy versus Ferguson had put segregation in place about 60 years earlier, but this completely smashed through that. At the time of this ruling, over 1/3 of the schools in the United States were segregated by law. Here's an example of the two that were here in Topeka. This one was the whites school, the other one being the colored school. They were not too bad, pretty fairly equal. Here's a picture of the inside. The classrooms, as you can see, not too different. Unfortunately, this was not the case in many cities across the country. As an example of this, we look over on the other side, and you can tell this is the whites school here. But we look over at the school made for the colored students, and it is just absolutely disappointing. Very unfairly, they were pushed into a much worse building that didn't have nearly as good supplies or a great environment for learning. Here are some pictures of both of these schools. We have the colored school on top and then the white school on bottom, and the differences are night and day. It was clear that there was a massive problem. Just so you can see how widespread segregation was, they had an entire map of the United States here signifying where segregation was happening. We had them color-coded, so if you look at this, in the green states there, segregation had to happen by law. In the blue states, segregated was allowed. The red ones, there was no segregation, and then the white ones, they were allowed to make their own laws up. So unfortunately, the red and the green together, that's well over half the country. Thankfully, some brave voices spoke up and were heard. The pursuit of equal education was a constitutional right that no longer would be denied to any child, regardless of their race. Thanks to this, we'll never have to see white and colored signs like these ever again. And as the sun begins to set here in Kansas, we have time for one more stop. We're now in West Mineral to see a true mechanical marvel, Big Brutus. At first, a piece of construction equipment may not seem that special. We've seen these all over the place. But, Big Brutus is in a completely different level than everyone else. If it's not immediately obvious, Big Brutus is not your typical construction equipment. This is considered an electric shovel and was used in mining. Brutus was used to dig down anywhere from 20 to about 70 or 80 feet to help unearth any shallow coal seams that might be there that they'd be able to mine up quicker. Brutus proudly stands 16 stories tall and weighs in at a whopping 11 million pounds. Brutus was manufactured in 1963, and then he was shipped to Kansas, and it took 150 railroad cars just to get him here, and then they began the process of putting him together. Big Brutus remained in use until 1974. At that time, it was considered too big an ordeal to move him from where he was, so he stayed right here. Nobody was quite sure what to do with this mammoth piece of equipment, but eventually they decided to donate him, and he became the centerpiece of a brand new coal mining museum, where Big Brutus was the star attraction. Today, they look at Big Brutus as not only a symbol of the past, but an eternal tribute to the mining heritage of Southeast Kansas and to miners all across the nation who worked hard to support their families. As a matter of fact, In 1987, the American Society of Mechanical Engineers designated Big Brutus a regional historic mechanical engineering landmark. And then, in 2018, Big Brutus was placed on the National Register of Historic Places, guaranteeing that this wonderful monument will be here for centuries to come.
As you can see, it is so large, this is basically a room of its own that you can just walk around in. This is just one example of so many awesome things out there. Well, that's all the time we have for today, adventurers. My name is David, and this has been Abnormal Voyages. Thanks for tagging along. We'll see you in the next one.